Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our program. Very grateful that you've made time to join us today. My name is Dave Profizich, and my role at Oracle is to lead Oracle's ISV ecosystem, which is focused upon recruiting world-class SaaS providers to Oracle Cloud, and in some cases, building strategic go-to-market partnerships with them. I'll be hosting today's Customer Spotlight series. I'm delighted to be your host. And I'm also excited to host one of my absolute favorite customers, partners, and friends, Mr. Mike Morini. Mike Morini is CEO of WorkForce Software. Mike Morini is very well known in the industry, not because he was once employed by the Buffalo Bills as an NFL player, although these days the Bills are sort of in vogue, but because he's leading a world-class SaaS provider. And Mike epitomizes, he talks about his 3 C's. And I love this about Mike. He talks about culture, community, and customers. He drives a very customer-centric culture at WorkForce Software. WorkForce Software was named, by the way, one of the top 15 companies on the planet in the category of work-life balance by Comparably, which is known for that specific review. So, congratulations to Mike and the WorkForce Software team. Hey, before we dig into the program, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you. So if you'd be kind enough to respond to this quick little poll, please do. All right, thank you for participating. Oh, hey, Mike, and I know you're listening, but you're not speaking yet. Encouraging that folks talked a lot about remote workforce as a priority beyond the pandemic. And then, of course, for Oracle cloud-based solutions, and we've seen our cloud business grow materially. So again, thank you very much for participating. Now, before I bring Mike on live to join me, we had the opportunity last summer at Oracle to conduct what we call a virtual roadshow. We were trying to get a sense for how our clients, our partners were dealing with the pandemic, how they were leading through the pandemic. And Mike and the WorkForce team was kind enough to participate. So let's just roll a short video.
If you don't know WorkForce, what we do simply is we bring sexy back to timesheets, leave management, scheduling, anything that has to do with engaging with the hourly workforce. During COVID, we really wanted to do something to help us focus about our employees, and not just our employees, but focus on their family. With everybody working from home, that influx of the working parents back in the home with young kids, I'm sure was mayhem for a lot of folks. Is we decided to have our senior leadership read a story to them. And I kicked it off with a Dr. Seuss story the first week, and our leadership team continued to read on a weekly basis. And we partner very closely with a charity organization called MVP, which is Merging Vets and Players. Many of the participants and members of our MVP organization jumped on the board with us and read some stories to the kids. It really was touching. It was really fun to do. And we just made the decision earlier this year to join Oracle in OCI. Without a lot of fine tuning on our end, we saw a 30+% improvement in performance. We also saw a financial performance that allowed us to probably just out of the gate save 35% in our CapEx expenditure. And with the great performance we're getting from OCI, the ROI that we deliver with our suite continues to get better and better and better.
Awesome. I love that video. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your kind comments there. I'm a big Steelers fan, by the way. I think you look like Brett Kiesel on that video. He's got a Super Bowl or 2 here in Pittsburgh. But hey, thank you so much for being here. Great to see you again. Appreciate your partnership. And maybe just kick off, if you would, by telling us a little bit about WorkForce Software.
I will. Thanks for having me, Dave. And I'm probably best known for being cut by the Buffalo Bills when they were the worst team in the NFL, but we'll get on that, and we moved on to a tech career. So all good. You saw from the video, I say we like to say we're bringing sexy back to timesheets and leave and scheduling and all the things that is focused on an hourly employee. But it's really I that like to say it, and my team most of the time rolls their eyes at me. But overall, we're all about the time pillar in this HR time and payroll digital transformation paradigm. And really, we not only help with timesheets we're very helpful in being compliant, and particularly with COVID and what we've seen in COVID, that's become more and more important as the regulations have changed and all the regulatory requirements have changed. So, we're a global company. We're headquartered, as you saw in the video, out of Livonia, Michigan. We have offices around the States. We're in the UK. We have an entity in Singapore and in Sydney. And that global footprint continues to grow as we see the push for getting better engaged with your employees, which is what we do in that time pillar. We've been around since 1999. So a lot of domain expertise, which is really critical, because this is a complex pillar. When you're dealing with things and regulatory requirements and collective bargaining requirements on how you pay and schedule your employees, you got to be in the know. And we've got a very competent team that handles the most complex and unique from around the globe, and have been doing it for a long time. We've been in the cloud for 10 years, and we'll talk more about our move from our co-locations to the Oracle Cloud, which has been a tremendous thing for us. But we're the kind of the last vendor standing that's purely focused in the enterprise space, of course, on this whole time, attendance, compliance, labor forecasting, and labor scheduling. And we partner with companies like Oracle, and it's not just a technology partnership like you mentioned. It's a great go-to-market partnership that we're building, where when you get into the large complex deals where time is a critical component, most of the HR providers only handle the basic. We're really needed for that unique, and we're starting our partnership there in that go-to-market, and it's really exciting. I do want to qualify that big beard that was there. Our innovation project, and that's off. You can thank my wife for that if I wanted to stay in my home. So, but our innovation project for 2021, and you'll hear about it later, our scheduling and our forecasting is called Project Zeus. And that was my Zeus Warbeard. Tried to do something to motivate and keep our team engaged as we went to work from home in the beginning of COVID. And they responded really well. And those of you that know Greek mythology, Zeus is the youngest son of a bad guy named Kronos. And Kronos is actually our largest competitor. So we figured we'd have some fun with us taking market share from Kronos, because Zeus's mom, he was the seventh born, moved him away. He came back, made Kronos regurgitate the 6 brothers and sisters that he ate, and then he slayed him. And we really feel with our move to Oracle and the innovation that we're doing in our space, we're slaying the giant and we're taking control. We are the largest cloud provider because we've been in the cloud a long time, and we continue to take market share. Really exciting time for us. Even though the globe's in a turbulent space, we're here and we're actually helping them get through it. So we feel real good about it.
That's great, Mike. Yeah, and congratulations on your massive success in 2020, growing during the pandemic. Maybe just to double click quickly on the time and labor space, I've learned a lot about it from you, and I've often told my friends and family the story about WorkForce. And what is this about how you enable employees to be paid at a higher level during a full moon? And there's some story there around that. What's the story there?
How crazy is that, right? But we can't help them negotiate their pay, but our platform, because of its configurability and rules engine, can handle the most unique and wild things that are out there. And believe it or not, I don't know whether some actuary sat in a room or not, but they found out that during a full moon, certain people like first responders, flight attendants, hospital workers, people like that, there's a higher risk to them during the full moon because I guess all the crazies come out. It's not just Halloween or et cetera, but that's just an example where you have these unique things, whether it's a full moon or whether it's the type of mushroom, believe it or not, you're picking, or whether you're a labor worker and if you're above 80 feet off the ground or below, they're different. You have to have a system that has the capability to adjust and go with you. And this rules engine we'll talk about later on our platform gives us, the opportunity to do that. If you think of one of our largest customers, it's one of the top 5 counties in America. They have 92 different collective bargaining agreements that have all these unique ways to pay people, whether you're a fireman, policeman, municipal worker, whatever it may be. So you've got to have a system that you can configure on the fly as these things change with negotiations. And that's what's really differentiating ourselves today, plus the performance we're now getting in the cloud with our partnership with you guys.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Last I checked, I think Safra pays us the same during a full moon as otherwise. So next question, maybe just talk, if you would, a little bit about innovation and like what are the coolest things that you and the team are working on to differentiate the platform?
Yeah, I think that probably falls into three buckets. We're doing a lot of cool things, and we've got a great team, and it really is an innovative culture. I've been here for 5 years, and we've transformed this place into just rock and solid, innovative technology culture. But it's probably focused on three things. One was a quick byproduct of COVID, which is what we call the pre-shift health check. The second is the universal scheduler. And it's interesting, your poll came up with the work from home people and the challenge that's putting on scheduling and other areas. And the last one is what we call machine learning forecasting, which I'll talk about in a bit. But really that pre-screen health check, we're worried about not just the health of our employees, but the health of our customers' employees. And between the integration with an AI and a chatbot technology integrated into our suite, we very quickly built a health check. So whether you're a shift worker in a manufacturing line that's deemed essential, or retail worker, a healthcare worker, we see a lot of uptick in our hospital healthcare customers. We now have a vehicle where they know their shift is coming, they're pinged on their phone with a simple 3-question health check. Have you had this symptom? Have you felt that way? Whatever the company's compliance issues are, it's pinged and sent back, so that the employee and the manager are in the moment in our real-time system. And if in fact there's an indication that there's a problem, they immediately tell them to stay home, and the manager now can plug it into the automated scheduling system and find a resource that's got that same skill set, same requirement, whatever it may be, and plug them in the moment so they don't lose the momentum and lose the downtime in their workday. That's been crazily adopted and a need that's out there and will continue as we see COVID. Even though we're getting better success with the vaccination, it's going to be around for a while, and people are going to be very conscious of that. The second piece is the universal scheduling component, and that's a big one, and we're really excited about this, and we're launching it in another 2 months. And really, whether you're scheduling people on the shop floor, on the retail floor, whatever it may be, there are complexities in requirements you have for them, timing, overtime requirements, managing peace, and you want to have the capability to be able to schedule anyone, anywhere, at any time with the right requirement. And that's becoming more and more important. And the universal scheduler for us, again, is an AI-driven solution where we have 3 really strong scheduling solutions that's been built through the years. They're now rolling into one. And we're providing this ability, like I said, schedule anyone, anytime, anywhere with the right skill set. And the timing is perfect because the market needs it, and we're getting a lot of great feedback from our customers. The last piece is what we call machine learning labor forecasting. And when you're in a demand-based labor business, whether it's the retail floor for peaks or whether it's the manufacturing line if there's a spike in need for production, you want to have the ability to use your aggregated data to kind of predict what you're going to need based on historic trends. And that's what we're coming out. So you see a big focus in this pillar. It's not just time and attendance and compliance, but it's really tying in now that whole labor forecasting and labor scheduling as this pillar becomes the hub for employee engagement as we move forward. It's a very exciting time for us, and we're so excited that we're ahead of the curve on this and able to provide a solution to help our customers kind of navigate these uncharted waters.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I mean, the rate of innovation your team has been driving has been incredible. I know you and I have known each other for a little more than a year, and we meet on a regular basis, and it's just been encouraging to see you accelerating your roadmap, innovating at a SaaS layer, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Maybe just taking a step back. So you built WorkForce. I know you've been leading the company, Mike, for 5 years. The WorkForce and Oracle's relationship dates our friendship. The core platform initially was built on Oracle, the database. And yet you took that environment and moved it into co-locations. Some of it, I think, was running on Microsoft Azure. Maybe just talk a little bit, if you would, about the previous environment architecturally and what some of the challenges were, both at a business and a technical level.
Sure. Yeah, we are a colo shop. It was originally an on-prem shop 10 years ago. We moved into the cloud, and it was built initially the first 8 or 9 years or 7 years of the existence strictly in a colo world. And then recently we had moved to the cloud with Azure in our Asia Pacific region for some demands there. And really what we needed to do is we need to find a way. I made a decision here, look, we want to get out of the colo, right? Everybody's tired of CapEx expenditure, right? And with the acceleration of the cloud and the price performance that's now out there in the open cloud between a number of providers, it was time for us to get to the big leagues. And we made that decision. When I came in 5 years ago, we started to build the foundation for that. So our solution was ready, and now we're ready to go. And it really was simply things of performance, reliability, scalability, not just from the technology perspective, but performance from a financial perspective for us, right? When you think about what we do, timesheets and things like that, it sounds, mundane, right? But it's so data intensive. And I didn't know this because I was new to the workforce space when I came here, but one simple timesheet has 140 steps to calculate what's going on between compliance and union rules and pay rules, and right. And if you don't get that right, you're not paying your employee the right way. And if you're not paying the employee the right way, you got an unhappy employee. And in today's world, everybody's focused on positive engagement. So we really had to find a way to get into a more performant environment that was more predictable, not just from a performance base, but from a financial performance base for us, so we could continue to invest in our product and continue to innovate at the pace we're doing today.
Awesome. Excellent. So you made the decision to pivot to a public cloud platform away from colos. And I know you looked at the market more broadly, and we're grateful that you selected Oracle Cloud, but maybe talk a little bit about how you evaluated the space, other alternatives to Oracle, and how you landed on Oracle.
Yeah, I mean, first off, the partnership we saw from Oracle from day one out of the gate, because we knew you guys, because we're an Oracle shop, right? Your team was very responsive. We got involved with this. Azure just wasn't delivering the performance for us. And when we made the decision, last year, we very quickly moved. We looked at AWS, we looked at Google, we looked at all the lead providers out there, as we should, to be responsible, right? But when it came to the data intensive application world that we live in, it just made too much sense, right? You guys were the vendor that could give us not just performance because we were inherent to what you were doing, but you also came to us with a more simplistic financial approach that gave us the visibility and the predictability of this market is exploding globally, right? And our big deals are 111 manufacturing facilities for Procter & Gamble around the globe. Well, we've got to have performance in regions around the globe, and a lot of folks have played games with regional pricing. You guys were clean out of the gate on that, and we saw technology, and we saw predictability on the numbers, and it kind of made it a no-brainer.
I'm just listening to you, Mike, remembering the meeting you and I had with Safra, our CEO, and the impression you made on Safra right away. I mean, we're partners. Of course, we have a very large SaaS business in the HCM space. You nicely complement that with best in category technology that drives a compelling business case. So it just made sense, I think, early on. But thank you for doing the technical diligence as well. And maybe talk a little bit about, if you would, your journey to Oracle Cloud. So you have a very large install base, global footprint. How did you think about sort of breaking that into phases, if you will? How have you processed, or at least, let's say, built out your strategy to move and migrate to Oracle Cloud?
Yeah, and like we talked about, we've been in the cloud for 10 years. And that colo world, it's just difficult, right? So once we made the decision, it was, what are we going to do? And so what I pushed the guys with is, don't come with me because you like Oracle and say, Oracle, prove it. And they did. We did a proof of concept with you guys. And we expected some increase in performance, but not at the level we saw it. And look what we did is we took your infrastructure and we plugged our application into it with one of our customers, 25,000 employees. I don't remember the exact number. And we ran it. We pushed it. We ran the timesheets. We ran the pay rates. We did all the variable scheduling. We did all the things we did to see. And we compared OCI to the other guys that we all know that are out there in the market. And quite candidly, we were hoping you could at least match what we had in our own data centers, but our performance out of the gate with no fine tuning on OCI was 30% faster than what we were doing in our fine-tuned colos. So that raised everybody's eyes. And so it was like, whoa, if we're seeing that performance, I wonder if we can structure something in terms of a business relationship that makes sense next. But that performance and that proof made it a no-brainer to take the next step to the concept of you and I talking about, hey, how do we structure a deal that's a win-win for both of us as we ramp into this thing?
Mhm. Very good. No, thank you. And we're excited, Mike, to have the WorkForce SaaS portfolio operating in the same fabric where our own SaaS operates. I mean, we're a very large SaaS company ourselves, and you're co-located right in those same OCI regions, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Could you talk a little bit about, you mentioned performance, you mentioned the POC, are there specific capabilities that you could highlight that caught your attention around OCI? I mean, drill in, if you would, a little bit more around some of the benefits.
Yeah, I would say my cloud services team says it's been amazing. They love it, right? So they're getting the performance, whether it's the monitoring tools, the support we get from you back in. I would put it into 3 buckets. It's definitely performance, right? Right? You supercharge, as it says in the slide, our platform performance. You provide the security that we need in the environments we're in, whether it's financial or others, the availability, scalability, all that kind of stuff. We knew that had to be the foundation in order for us to make this jump, right? We're doing a lift and shift immediately in a business that's growing dramatically. So we had to see that. And we clearly saw that. I think the two, and Oracle's a technology company. We had confidence there'd be something there. It's more than what we thought out of the gate, which is great, but it's there from that foundation. The 2 other driving factors, and you and I talked a lot about this, that it wasn't just performance. One was cost, right? I got to make my CFO happy, right? So we got to find a way, not just the next shiny object, right? So we want to go do this. And you guys gave us that, and I talked a little bit about that. You gave us the ability to ramp, which we needed, because that doesn't happen overnight. Our contracts have to go down. And yes, I don't mind some double spend for a short while, but we want the ability to ramp. And we've done that 1 year, 2 year, and then get into the full ramp 3 year and beyond, which we're appreciative of. But the impact that we had from going from our colos and the CapEx expenditures to getting into the public cloud with OCI, I mean, out of the gate, we saw a 35% cost reduction. So we checked the box on performance, right? We checked the box on cost. And then the thing I joked with you about is, listen, my mom's Oracle wasn't the most partner-friendly Oracle in the world. You guys did it yourself, right? And that's cool. But this ain't my mom's Oracle, right? This is a partner-centric, and the support that we've seen from your team blew me away. You said it would be, and our technology folks are really pumped about it because they're almost in daily meetings with you guys, right? You're really helping on that migration. There's 2 pieces to our migration, right? We got to get the technology migration done and stood up, and we got to migrate our customers. And from the technology piece and standing up our applications quickly in new cloud, the support has been beyond what we expected. And not just on the technology side, Dave, you and I are part of the ongoing go-to-market calls. We're seeing some synergies as we walk in arm in arm as you want to get your customers into OCI. And maybe they're looking for a lead HR digital transformation product to go in there, and they can go arm in arm with you and I in an Oracle cloud with an Oracle partner. And we've got this partnership that almost guarantees success, right? At least lessens the risk dramatically from others that are getting there. So I would say those 3 pillars: performance, cost, and support were the big things that jumped out at me. I mean, the technology guys can take you through the Exadata and why this, so that I can't take you into that world, but I know from a technology perspective, it's been humming pretty well, and everybody's been pretty excited about it.
Yeah, thanks for those kind words, Mike. And I've learned from you that the time and labor space is one of the most ROI defensible spaces. And I think we're hopefully able to help each other, help our common clients reduce their total cost of operations on WorkForce, of course, on OCI. The performance benefits that you talked about, I mean, how has that affected your overall infrastructure strategy? I know you've made some changes based on the improvements.
Yeah, it's a lot about the variable compute and storage capabilities that people want, or the ability to turn things on and turn things off in terms of capacity. In the old colo world, when we had a spike in retail at a Walmart customer, which is ours, that you needed to add more hardware to handle that spike, right? So there's just predictability today, and the fact that we can turn the spigot off or on in OCI per client as needed, if capacity is needed, just puts us in a position so we can better handle our customers. And the timing for this, Dave, is perfect. We've had we've been blown away by the acceleration. And if you see the big guys, McCain's and McKinsey and Bain, they're all talking about how COVID and the work from home paradigm is accelerating the HR digital transformation needed by 3 to 5 years. And we've seen that in the Fortune 50, Fortune 100, and the work that we're doing with Procter & Gamble and our 111 manufacturing facilities, the new work we're doing with Walmart in Latin America, all these folks that we're putting in Oracle Cloud. There's a global push where other areas of the world are not worried about compliance or calculating pay or engaging their employee. There's a global push around the world, and we needed that capacity from you guys so that we could better support and roll out those companies. And it's not just, you know, doing a deal in Asia, it's doing a deal in the States, and your first implementation is in Vietnam, Hong Kong. You know, it's global, and it's a big push, and that's why we need that partnership. And we're excited to see you guys continue your acceleration with OCI around the globe.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And along those lines, I mean, as you know, we just opened up our 29th OCI region in Santiago, Chile, right before Christmas. And, you know, what Larry has been trying to do, SAFRA, our leadership strategy, has been to have the largest number of regions. We surpassed Amazon recently of any public cloud provider in the world. And we're trying to go to the backyards, sort of electronic backyards, if you will, of our enterprise clients. I mean, how do you see that playing out for you? I mean, you've got a global footprint. I mean, how do you see yourself distributing your usage across the planet?
Well, I know you guys don't want to lay too much track before the train gets there, but we need to keep laying that track, man. You and I have talked about that, right? You getting to 36 regions is exciting for us because look, what you're providing is a self-contained unit. You know, whatever they need in the data centers, you know, power, cooling. So we're not having, you know, regional colo downs and issues that we've seen before. But I think it really ties to, as we roll these regions out and as the data centers get closer and closer where you're hosting OCI, you don't have latency issues. You don't have high bandwidth issues, right? We're realizing a whole bunch of things that if the more proximity to the Oracle Cloud we are and the Oracle Cloud region, the more our customers are getting this raw performance, even beyond our initial test of 30 to 35%, right? And when you're dealing with, and I can't emphasize enough, even though it's only one piece of it, but when you're dealing with calculating complex pay, and you're the roadblock to getting that thrown into payroll so they're getting their checks, we can't afford the ups and downs even more than most. I mean, I don't get a lot of attaboys. I only get, if we have an issue one day for a customer that we've been crystal clean for 10 years, they're mad at me for 2 months, right? Because their employees are mad at us. So we can't afford that. I don't want those calls. I want more attaboys. So I'm counting on you guys to give me the opportunity to get more attaboys from my customers with low latency, better bandwidth, better uptime, all those things that you would expect from an organization like Oracle.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for challenging us too. There have been times where your team has challenged us to go faster, you know, and lay the track faster. And as you said, I mean, our SAFRA's goal is the freight train will never slow. But just a couple of real simple questions, Mike, if you don't mind. One is on cost. So if you sort of zoom out, and you commented already about the POC and some of the performance benefits you realized, but you know, could you share a little bit around sort of the workforce cost profile today versus where you were when you were in a 100% colo environment?
Yeah, I would tell you that out of the gate, and we still have some redundant costs, right? Because it's a transitionary period, right? We won't be completely out of the colos probably till Q1, halfway through Q2 2022, right? Logical when you have a bunch of large complex customers. We're going to take the low-hanging fruit first, get them over. All the new customers immediately get stood up in OCI, and some of the old legacy customers will transition over. Right out of the gate, we're seeing 20% savings by moving to OCI, no doubt about it. But moving away from our other cloud provider, it's more like 50 to 70% out of the gate. So open cloud to open cloud, great. Colo, not quite as high, but we're confident as we bring those together and we transition from the data centers we have around the world into you guys, that it's going to get back to that 30, 35% across the board, no matter what we're doing. And that's exciting. And I spoke to this a little bit before, Dave. And what has us confident in this is you guys aren't playing games with the regional pricing. You're being predictable. We know what we got. And simplicity is key in these things. You and I talked a lot about that. And the fact that you were able to lay out a very simple plan, here's what we're doing, here's what the cost roadmap looks like, allows my team to better plan for a predictable cost down the road, and how aggressive we need to get this thing lifted and shifted in the timeline we're doing it. So I think that's the great. Out of the gate, we're seeing it. We're seeing the right performance from a cost perspective like we had expected, and the model we built in here internally to ROI it. And I think we're right on track with that. A year plus into it right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. January is the 1-year anniversary. Absolutely. The and thanks for pointing out the commonality across our regions. I mean, we're at 29 today. We'll, as you pointed out, we're moving to 36 quickly. We're at a 1 region per month clip. We're also starting to take on a lot of the governments. So the UK government, you'll see more government regions announced in the near term, which I think helps us as well, Mike, because a lot of your clients are government. Just a question about support. You made a number of comments already about the experience. Maybe if you could just share a little bit more about your team's support experience with Oracle.
Yeah, my technical guys, I think they're all on first name basis with your team, and I think they're significant others, and maybe they're extended family members right now. They're all talking on a day-to-day basis, and you guys not only have guided them, your team has also jumped in and done some of the work for us as we've jumped into it. And you mentioned that in the beginning, and I know you guys are very focused on getting some key partners into that cloud to demonstrate the boom. And I got to tell you, as I mentioned, not my mom's Oracle, I've been blown away by the support on the technical side, which has been great. I mean, they're on a first name basis, and it's not schedule me or call this ticket or put that in. It's call me or text me. And I know your guys have been responding around the clock to our team, and that's needed. We're making a shift, and I'm sure the operations team, I know my operations, they're excited, right? You're getting into new technology, you're doing really cool stuff, but they're also nervous as hell because they know that we can't miss a beat moving our customers. We can't say, oh, we'll have you back next week. Don't worry about this payroll. That ain't going to happen, right? And so they need to be compliant. It needs to be smooth. And I think their confidence level is really high now, just because it is arm-in-arm engagement. And I told you that's exactly what we needed to do this. And that's exactly what your guys are providing. So anybody that has questions about the support shouldn't question at all. We've been blown away, and I'm happy to talk in specifics to anybody who has interest.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for that very much. And I mean, your platform is so mission critical, right? And we've got to support it as such. Thanks for those comments. Hey, so I think before we wrap up with a couple of final questions, I did want to ask the audience to respond to another poll. So if we could just fire up the second poll, that'd be great. All right. Spend less on maintaining database. Interesting. Good reason to move to OCI. Absolutely. Data analysis. So some really good answers. So Mike, just 3 or 4 more questions. We've had some Q&A questions come in, and just scribbled a list of them here. So first off, like so COVID, pandemic, market conditions, and your company's been very successful during COVID. Congratulations. I love to see that. I think it just speaks to the quality of the team and the talent and technology you've assembled. But I mean, what advice would you have for leaders as we pivot to whatever becomes the new normal here in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, we had 135% year over year SaaS bookings growth this year during a pandemic. And when we were sending people home in March, I think the biggest thing for me is, you've been in enterprise software a long time, so have I. If you would have told me we would be selling some of the largest deals in the company's history over Zoom 12 months ago, I would have told you were crazy, man. But we are. And the engagement is there. So what I did with this is I challenged my leadership team. I said, question everything conventional. What are we going to do? To my CRO and the head of the Americas, what's the new selling motion, right? To my head of global services, what's the new delivery motion? It's got to be different. You're not going to be eyeball to eyeball. So, when you're not eyeball to eyeball in a delivery and you have a little bump in your implementation, that can get blown out of portion because you're not there to sit around the table and go, oh, this is no big deal. We'll work through it. So you had to figure out how to get, I guess, lean and mean and really engage. And everybody stepped up. We streamlined the sales approach. We focused harder on the moments in time where we could interact with customers, right? Everything is no more phone calls. Get face-to-face on a video. It's the next best thing, but be there. We acknowledge that we had to listen to our employees. We talked about the execs reading story time to the kids. we had to do something to acknowledge that, hey guys, we know you have a work-life balance. So what my biggest thing that I've been talking to people about is that COVID fatigue is setting in everywhere. We call it CFS here, COVID fatigue syndrome. And someday you wake up and you're more tired than you went to bed, right? You're not alone. Everybody's in that. We want that interaction and skill. So what we really focused on is trusting our employees and telling them, look, you've got a job to do. We're giving you the tools remotely to do those jobs. But if you need an hour in the middle of the day because your kid is screaming or something went wrong at school or you've got a health issue with a parent you got to go check on, take it and do it. Just finish what you got to do. Don't leave a critical customer situation, but balance work life. And what we've seen across all departments is I think our culture of innovation has accelerated because of it, because they're seeing different needs than they may have thought of. We were all in the office every day. I think the work-life balance where if I was holding this with you and a kid ran into the room or my dog barked, everybody in the past would panic. Happens today. It's part of life. So if we bring humanity back into the workforce, and we could take that one thing from this and be flexible and open our minds to new approaches to things, I think with the ingenuity and the talent that we have in our organizations, it's going to continue to accelerate us, right? I believe that my team here is ready for whatever's next. If we can get through these waters, keep all of our employees, and keep moving this thing forward, we're rocking and rolling. And I think that it's a testament to culture. You talked about community and customers and our people and our customers. And I think if we show respect to the individual and continue to focus on it, I know it sounds a little corny and like mom and apple pie, but the humanity piece is important. A lot of places have gotten away with it. I think all of us are learning a life lesson with the time at home and the value with your loved ones and the tragedy we're seeing out there on how do we fix not just the health issues, but the social issues we're seeing. Everything that we got to find a compromise. We got to find humanity. And I think if we focus our business that way, I think it's going to pay dividends. You got to trust your employees are going to do the right thing. And we do that here.
Yeah, that's so good, Mike. Thank you. And those are great words of wisdom. I really appreciate your personal authenticity as a leader. Learned a lot from you over the last year. A couple more questions. So reflecting a little bit on the last maybe year or two, with interacting with the leadership team at Oracle, myself, Doug Caring, Safra, and others here, what surprises you the most about Oracle and OCI?
The big results on the performance and the cost, I kind of expected it. The big is, I guess I'm not really surprised because of the engagement we had all along and the access to power I had from you and the team. I'm blown away by the cooperation, the timing, and the implementation pace we're at right now. It feels like one collective team. And again, that had not been my experience with Oracle through my career, right or wrong. It just hadn't. You guys had been an independent pillar and you did your thing. But man, you have jumped into this thing with us that our team's blown away. And I think, critical systems to your business like this is to us, we cannot put our customers at risk. And that's what I stressed with you. And this is a big strategic shift for us, right? So we needed to make sure that we felt good. Double sets of rubber gloves for COVID, right? 2 masks, not just one. And you guys really delivered on that. And I can only speak to it, theoretically from what I see and what my team's telling me. But if you talk to Terry Harshfield, who runs our SaaS operations, or his leadership team, I mean, they think this partnership was born in heaven. And so we just need to continue pushing that. We need to continue our acceleration, and I need to get all my customers into the Oracle cloud successfully.
Yeah, I love that we share a win-win, massive win-win opportunity here together.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would change, Mike, in retrospect? Any reflecting back that you'd tweak?
Well, I would have had you give me a better deal, but I know I got what I could. Now, I said the pricing was really fair. I wish we could have started this earlier, but neither you nor we were ready earlier. I had to make sure when I got here that all our foundational components were rock solid before we do a lift and shift. And that's what we did. We got the foundation solid. We got the product roadmap. My chief product officer, Joe Ross, has built a product management, which is world-class and second to none. And we just keep delivering and delivering. That stuff all had to be clear before we could make this strategic shift. And you guys had to accelerate. You had to get from 5 to 12 to 24 regions. So I actually think there's not too much I would change. And if we could have done it earlier, we probably would have, but answer is really not much. I mean, we're pretty pleased with how it went and how it's going.
Cool. I told my daughter last night, don't think about Monday morning quarterback, like move forward. And good news. She's like, Dad, I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about? I had to tell her, no remorse. Everything has been, and I appreciate your comment, because I think we've had a healthy relationship and so much potential going forward. Hey, last question, Mike. What do you like the most? Like, what's the most fun thing you do? Like, what is it about your job that you enjoy the most?
Employees and making customers successful. You know, it's in our core values, right? Our really simple, put the customer first. And the second one is make it happen. And make it happen, I have a big mantra here, which is be the CEO of your role, right? And show a sense of urgency and own it. Ask for forgiveness, don't ask for permission. You know, make a decision based on data and factual and in the best interest of the customer, and then move ahead. And then the last piece is celebrate your success. Probably what I miss the most is we're not celebrating our success with our customers. I mean, we are over the Zoom and we're talking about it, but we're not having that, you know, cocktail party or whatever it may be to jointly do it. And I think, you know, what we do is important. It's not just calculating pay, but now it's the health and safety of our customers' employees as this employee engagement gets more and more critical. And COVID has just accelerated that. So I'm really pleased that we're in a position as a business where we were able to make that pivot with COVID, get our teams armed remotely right away. You know, we were predominantly remotely anyway, except for our dev and support team, but that was in a week. We were rocking and rolling. We did not miss a beat. And our software today and the innovation we continue to do is just making it easier for our customers to stay engaged with their employees. You know, you talked about this time pillar being the ROI, right? We've got one of the largest soft drink manufacturers funded their entire HR digital transformation, HR, time, and payroll off of the ROI on our time pillar. So it's having an impact and a value, and it's not only saving the money, but it's giving them an opportunity to better engage with their employees. And I think coming out of COVID, that's going to be even more important. Not just the health check, but how are you doing? Are you feeling safe? What's going on? Do you need to, you know, giving the employees the power to make a change in schedules on their mobile phone without having to go through it, and having the manager in the moment know they made that change and it was already backfilled, no worries. So you know, we are having an impact on the productivity, the health and safety, and their ability to engage with their employees. And I think we're really adding value, and that's pretty cool. You know, there's a lot of things we sell in technology that may not do that. This is on the forefront with their employees, and with all that's going on around the world, that's getting more and more critical, this employee engagement pillar, and we're right in the heart of it. So that's really exciting. And watching my team thrive, innovation, crazy, right? And so you see them excited, even though it's a challenging time around us, that there's a lot of reward in that as a leader, as you know, right? When your team's thriving, even through hard times, it makes you feel good that you're doing the right thing and you're giving them the platform to go have an impact. And that's kind of what we're all about.
That's great, Mike. Well, your enthusiasm is contagious. I really appreciate you taking the time to share, you know, the story of WorkForce Software. Congratulations on your success. We're honored to be a part of it, a small part of it, and we want to be a catalyst for your scale. Absolutely. And so thank you so much. And for the broad audience, thanks so much for joining this Customer Spotlight series. We'd like to invite you back to our future Customer Spotlight series events. Please stay connected with us by visiting oracle.com/events, customer-spotlight/workforce software in this case. Incidentally, the next Customer Spotlight event occurs on the 23rd of February, where we'll be talking to Grupo Bimbo. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye now.